The former President Jacob Zuma defying a constitutional court order this morning, saying he will not cooperate with the State Capture Commission. In a statement, Zuma says he's not afraid of being arrested, convicted or imprisoned. Well, for more reaction on this developing story on this Monday morning, I'm now joined by Casper Badenhorst from Ulrich Roux and Associates. Casper, good morning. I spoke to Edward Zuma, Mr. Jacob Zuma's son, a little bit earlier, just for a reaction from the family, and of course they are supportive of their father's action, in this case the former president, and saying, well, the next steps are up to the authorities. From a legal perspective, what should we expect next? How do we interpret this? The highest court of the land, the apex court of the land, has made a ruling. Now he's saying that court is politicized and he will not cooperate with the State Capture Commission.
Morning, Dan. Thank you for having me. Well, it certainly is, to put it simply, a slap in the face of the judicial system, and to disregard an order from the Constitutional Court is, I would say, quite a threatening action towards our legal system. It really does put our system into disrepute, if that is so. But it isn't without the consequences if he does decide to disregard the order from the Constitutional Court. There are processes that...
And what could those consequences be? Well,
the first thing, in any court, if you disregard an order of the magistrates' court, high court, wherever, constitutional court in this case, the process following that is that one can, or the person to whom the order has been granted in their favour, can approach the High Court to apply for a contempt of court order. And I know it's now a following step, but that is our process. And Mr. Zuma can be found to be in contempt if he does, in fact, disregard the order.
He says, and I'm reading here, Casper, I don't know if you've seen the whole statement. He says, I'm left with no other alternative but to be defined against injustice, as I did against the apartheid government. I mean, injustice?
Well, I mean, that's the way he interprets it, but unfortunately, an order of the court is something that one needs to follow. You know, the basic principle on contempt of court matters is even if you believe that the order is given incorrectly, you still have to comply until such time that that order is set aside or found to be, found to be incorrectly given. So until such time comes, you still have to obey that order. And that is to ensure that there is always consistency and a foundation in terms of the orders that are given by courts. You cannot simply disregard it because of your own opinion on the order. You have to approach a court to have it set aside.
Okay, now just educate me a little bit. I'm not a lawyer. The Constitutional Court, we describe it as the ultimate, the apex. They've made that. So where do you appeal to against the order? As you said, there's a process. You can't just defy it. There's a process.
In this regard, there is no further. This is the final.
So this defines...
You can't go further than this. This defines...
Yeah, sorry to cut you in, Casper. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get a sense, a simple sense. So this is the highest court. He needs to comply. He says he's going to defy it. He's not going to cooperate with the State Capture Commission. And then he says he's not scared of being arrested, convicted, and sent to jail. So he's basically throwing down the gauntlet.
Correct. I mean, he is. But there is no, as you correctly state, there is no further than this. He can't go further. He can't appeal to any other court. The Constitutional Court orders are final and binding. So the only way forward here is finding him in contempt of court, which they most likely will do if he doesn't comply with the order. Well, I suppose, as he says, being convicted and imprisoned, that's the route he decides to take. That is most likely the route that will be followed.
Okay, very briefly, before I let you go, Casper. So the State Capture Commission now, after that court order, was expecting, of course, to carry on its work and set a date for Mr. Jacob Zuma to appear. The commission itself, can they enforce that court order?
Absolutely. So the commission is given the same powers as a high court. And that's in terms of the Commissions Act. So any summons that they issue is the equivalent of a summons that is given by a court. So they can certainly enforce that order. They are the beneficiary, if I could put it that way, of the order, and they will be able to approach, if they need to apply for contempt, they will need to approach a high court. But they can certainly enforce that order.
Thank you very much. Casper Badenhorst from the Ulrich and Associates, Ulrich Associates legal team there.